I'm going down to the drugstore, buy a big old skeiny yarn. I'm gonna knit me a kitten, even if you don't give a darn.
Good evening and welcome to this episode of the We Are Yarn podcast. My name is Amanda and I am your hostess. Thank you so much for joining me in the floor of my craft room. I am recording in the lovely East Tennessee on a really nice August 1st. Today's August 1st. Wow. Alright, so few things going on. I say a few things. The one thing going on, I am hosting a procrastinate along, and one thing I've been procrastinating is recording, and I apologize for that. But I'm here now reminding you. Through the first time I record in September, so, you know, I would say September 1st to be safe, but if you are truly procrastinating and you want to put it off to the very last second, somewhere in the first week of September, I will be closing the finished objects thread for the procrastinate along. That is, the idea is things that you procrastinate, knitting. So that could be holiday gifts, if you're really good at putting that off. That could be birthday gifts, if you're really good at putting that off. You know, anything. If you would really like to have a sweater to wear this fall, and you say that every summer, and then the fall comes and you haven't knit your sweater, that would count. You see, it's kind of loose here. I'm also including in that, if you really like to procrastinate weaving in your ends. If you have, I think I said 3 or more projects that need ends woven in, you can call that all one entry. Weaving in your ends for all your projects, that can be an entry because, man, I put it off too. And you know that giant basket that I showed you the last time? I haven't touched it. Still procrastinating that. So, there will be fabulous prizes. One of the prizes, well, I'm sorry, I'm having to look down. I should bring it up here. I should say 2 of the prizes are donated. So one of my longtime viewers, and she's changed her name, and I feel horrible because I don't know what her name was before she changed it. She has a podcast now though. She's on, I believe she's on YouTube. Knit-a-Cal Therapy. So knit, I-C-A-L Therapy, has a YouTube channel now, which I'm so sorry I haven't had a chance to go watch. But she's lovely. I imagine the channel's lovely. I'll update you next time. But she is sponsoring the knit along for 2 patterns of the winner's choice from Ravelry up to $7 each. So 2 of you who join in the procrastinating fun will be receiving patterns up to $7. I will be visiting the Hook and Needle this weekend. I am planning on going to the Hand Spinners Guild this weekend and then heading to the Hook and Needle to do a little shopping, and I plan on picking up a Yarny prize there, or maybe a Notions prize. I don't know. I'm going to see what strikes me as a prize for you guys for this knit along. I guess that's all I have to say about that. So let me show you. You know what? First, we can talk about this. All my projects, for some reason I put my projects next to the camera today because that's smart. In my cup tonight, I have some decaf because it is 8 o'clock. Okay, so big lean in. So while we're talking about procrastinating, I'm going to call this kind of a procrastinate because if you watch my Instagram feed, or if you are friends on Ravelry and, excuse me, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. if you watch my Instagram feed, or if we're friends on Ravelry and you like to troll the friends activity, you will see that I posted a picture of this, and yeah, I'll show you what I've done, and then I will tell you the story why I procrastinated it. So I finished the lace section for my morning mist. Finish the lace section. Now remember, the pattern wants you to start in the middle, provisional cast on, knit a certain number of inches for your size, bind off, then come back, pick up your provisional, and work the lace the other direction for a certain number of inches according to your size, bind off. I decided that that was too fiddly for me, and so I just knit until I was about at the number of inches I was supposed to be, because the next was block to given size. Okay, so I knit until I was about, you know, half an inch or so, and then I wet blocked it because I wanted to treat it the way I was going to treat it once it was in the garment. Blocked gauge is important. I did not expect, I had no idea that this yarn was going to grow and stretch as much as it did. But, you know, I had, like I said, an inch, half an inch, somewhere in there to go. And after I blocked it, I had over 6 inches extra of fabric. So, you see how that end is kind of ramen noodly, Chinese noodle there. I threaded a size 1 or 0 circular through just a little past where I needed to be, and frogged back a whole bunch of lace that I didn't have to knit. It was very frustrating, but better to have too much than not enough, right? So I procrastinated ripping that out. It was on some of my little blocking boards. One of these guys. It's on one of these guys. I popped this center circle out. I'm pointing to the back as if you can see. I popped the center circle out and hung it on one of the thumbtacks on my wall that's holding up some of my shawls. And let it hang there for a long, long time, dreading having to do anything with it. So there it is. But now, so because I did quite a bit of the lace, and then I put it down and picked it up and then started more on the lace, my edge treatment was different. So after you do all that, you go back and pick up stitches, and you see how nice and lovely those pickup stitches are? That was at the beginning of my knitting. When I got to the middle end, do you see how it behaved there? I did nothing different in picking up my stitches. And I looked at that, and I thought about it, and I decided that I don't care. So what I'm going to do, after it's all said and done, I'm either going to... I do care. I should have gone back and changed it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and do a crochet chain across this on both sides to hide where I picked up, so it looks the same. Bob's your uncle. If I have enough purple left over, I'll do it in the purple. If I don't have any purple left over, I'll just do it in the white, and that'll be fine. And I'll probably do the same thing, because I will eventually end up picking up stitches across the back, and I will do that across the back as well, just so it's all the same. Yeah, because I couldn't figure out what I did. So, I mean, I don't know what happened with my gauge. I don't know what I was doing different on the edge. I mean, guys, I got nothing. Got nothing. But, so I picked up my shoulders. I also learned, I just did this today, she has you do a backwards loop cast on. So you do your two things, and then you knit across, and then you do a backwards loop cast on, and then you continue on with this side, right? Okay. Backwards loop, purling into a backwards loop cast on slowed me down so much, and I really wish I'd done a knitted cast on. I think it would have been a firmer edge. I think it would have been a cleaner edge, and it wouldn't have been a pain, as much of a pain to purl into when I came back. So that's my only, so things that I would do differently were I doing it again. I would try to knit all of my lace in a relatively short time period. I would do a swatch, and then I would do that knitted cast on. Okay, my cat's outside the door crying, and across the hall is my baby who's trying to go to sleep. So I'm going to let the cat in so he does not cry. Cat's pretty excited about life and things now. So this is, can I tell you about my information about this project? This is the Morning Mist, which is a summer top pattern by Annie Rowden, R-O-W-D-E-N. I'm using what I'm pretty certain is Barocco Vintage DK, maybe, and some Elspeth Levold's Silky Wool, which I rescued from Tuesday Morning many moons ago, 2010, so 8 years ago. This is no longer being produced. Elspeth Levold, you cool. Okay. Right now I'm working on a 5. I have not checked my gauge because I'm a bad knitter. And I don't feel like it. This is running around in my jellyfish bag from the lovely Caffeinated Gert of the Caffeinated Crafting Podcast and Caffeinated Crafting Arts on Etsy that she occasionally updates. Alright, so that was my procrastinating. Let me show you what else I've been up to. I spun a little bit during Tour de Fleece. I know I usually save spinning for the end, but I'm really excited about it, so I'm going to tell you about it now. You're just going to have to deal. We're going out of order. So, you know, I had spun up this lovely purple. This was fiber that was gifted to me or donated to the podcast by Louette. So this is some Louette fiber. And they sent me some dots as well, and I had dyed it up. In the same pot, I had put this fiber that I think it's super fun. It's very textury. You can see there. So these both spun up fairly finely, but and I was going to hold them with some, I think it's a mohair, or wants to look like a mohair, boucle-ish, kind of funky, to give it some oomph. I was going to ply those 3 together and potentially make a boxy out of it. However, I am concerned that, there's the kitty. I'm concerned that if I apply all 3 of those together, they're going to be really plump once I wash them. So I am procrastinating right now, because what I want to do is do a little sample of just the 2-ply with these 2 yarns, then do a little sample of the 3-ply with that other mohair-y type single, and wash them up and do a little knit swatch and see how it all goes. not in the mood to do swatching. I'm not in the mood to swatch spinning. I'm not in the mood to swatch knitting. Not in the mood. So it's being procrastinated. My coffee is still pretty hot. That's why I'm having to drink it very slowly. And I also, during the tour, I think I showed you guys part of this. Finished up this beautiful, beautiful, squishy fiber. This was urbangypz. She's over in Asheville, North Carolina. urbangypz. Ow, 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 ow. I just about got a piercing in an intimate spot. Compliments this guy. Anyway, so I think when I showed this to you guys, I just had a little bit on the bobbin, and then when I pulled it out of the bag to show you, I noticed that the second half of the braid was very muted. The first half was really strong and brightly green, but then for some reason the second half had more undyed areas and more of a pale green. And so I ended up just going until it looked like I'd spun about half. Out of 4 ounces, I'd spun 2.2. And I was pretty proud of myself for stopping when I did, because I was like, oh my gosh. I've been doing this long enough, I know what 2 ounces looks like on my bobbin. So, and I started a new bobbin and did a traditional 2-ply. And there it is. I think it turned out amazing. And I don't know why I waited, what was it, 6 years before I got this on my wheel, because it's amazing. It's so beautiful. So I'm really excited about that. Alright, so I've shown you guys my procrastinating. I've shown you my tour de fleece. That's all I did for tour de fleece, because I wanted to do this project and I just procrastinated it. So let me show you what else I have worked on. I have been, before I put anything new, so more of my procrastinating is, remember, I want to do those Christmas stockings to match my child's Christmas stocking that I made him when he was a wee infant and only months old. In this bag here is the yarn for all that, and I have it sitting up here where I see it every time I walk in the room to remind me that I want to do it. However, I have a lot of projects on the needles right now, and I would really like to get one thing off the needles before I put that on. So I have been going gangbusters at my Starting Point shawl by Joji Locatelli. You remember this is the Mystery Knit Along, and if you remember, I did complete this first section, and I have a very funny story to tell you about this. So I completed this first section in all of its glory. I opted to do one clue, 1 through I think 4, and then go back and do 1 through 4 again, and then I'm going to do clue 5 instead of doing clue 1 twice, clue 2 twice. You follow. If you're familiar with it, you do what I just said. You do clue 1, and then you do clue 1 again, and then clue 2 and clue 2. So you're making 2 of the same, and then at the end you join them. You have been living under a rock if you watch podcasts or YouTube channels and you have not seen this project. If you live under a rock, I didn't mean that in a derogatory way. Alright, but anyway, so here's my second half. I think I've made it pretty far. I don't think I'd even... Maybe I had just started it when I showed it. I don't even remember where I was. But I think I have been, I've just been going on it. And here we are. Starting Point. Knit Along. So let me tell you the funny story. I worked overnights 3 nights. This past weekend, not this past weekend, weekend before. It's kind of why my recording schedule was kind of off, because I was dreading working those 3 overnights and then I had to recover. And then I was feeling lazy. So I sit down at work, and I had gotten through the little corner turn here, and I was trucking along on the copper. And, no. Yes. So, up, trucking through the copper. It's like, how many rows do I need? And I read this. It was, change to color 5. Work the row. Knit back. That's 1 gartered ridge. Work a row. Knit back. That's 2 garter ridges. Repeat rows. Repeat last 2 rows 8 more times. So I'm sitting at work, and it was kind of very late at night or very early in the morning, depending on how you want to view the situation, and the orders had slowed down a little bit. The work had slowed down. I'm not even thinking about being up at that time of night. And so it's like, ooh, I could pull out my knitting. And so I pulled out my knitting, and I said, okay, where am I? And I read that, and I go, okay, so that means 8 garter ridges, that 1 garter ridge plus the 2nd garter ridge, and then repeat those 2 rows 8 times more. 2 and 8 makes 10, so I need 10 garter ridges. But next to it, I had written for a total of 7 garter ridges. Because let me tell you what my knitter math did, my knitter brain did the first time I went through this. It went, okay, 1, and I wrote 1 garter ridge. And then on the next one I said, okay, that'll be a total of 2 garter ridges now. And then I read the rest, and I went 8. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 4 is 7. Do you follow that? I doubt it, because it was crazy math. It was like not of this world math. It was sad. And so I'm sitting there, and I had left this, my first go at it, I had left it at home to decrease the bulk of my project. And I was looking at it going, well, what did I do? Did I follow the directions and do 10, or did I do what I wrote down and only do 7? Luckily, at that point, the work picked back up, and I didn't need anything to occupy my time. I get home and count my garter ridges. Lo and behold, I'd only done 7. And that was on clue 2. Where I did that. Clue 3, I also wrote the same thing, because you just, if you see, you have several just big bands of color. I did that on all of them, including this one. And you can see here where I wrote 1, 2, 7 ridges. I mean, I have no, okay, but let's talk about how this is a blessing in disguise. 1, it was on a section where nobody's going to notice. They're big bands of color. They're still big bands of color. You're not going to notice. 2, I was concerned I was going to run out of the color I'm working on right now, the clay. And because I have 20 yards less than what she calls for. But now I have knit a total of 3 garter ridges. So 6 rows times 2, because there are 2 sections, 12. I've now knitted 12 fewer rows than she originally called for me to knit with this yarn. I'm no longer fearful of running out. 3. This is a friggin' long shawl, y'all. And those 3 rows over are 3 garter ridges over 4 colors twice is a pretty significant amount of knitting, of fabric in the end. So I effectively shortened it. I think I decided that was about 1/2 inch, maybe. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that means, and this is before blocked. So I shortened it by 2 inches per side, so a total of 4 inches. So while I think in the end, what's the word I'm looking for? The proportion may be a little off, because, you know, there is that whole golden ratio that I'm sure, because Joji Locatelli is brilliant, took into account when she was making her wrap, and all. And the proportion will probably be a little off, because, you know, it'll be a more squat rectangle. But guess what? I'm not concerned about that. I think it's going to be fine. You know what? I don't just think it's going to be fine. I know it's going to be fine, because it's my knitting and I say so. So, yeah. Take that. So this is my starting point. So if you're looking at the piece I have already finished, I am right about here-ish. So I have the twisted rib section to go, which I unfortunately counted correctly and did 10 rows. The one part that I don't really enjoy is the part that I managed to do properly, right? And then the lacy bit, which is a joy. And then this other lacy bit, which is also a joy. And then the final clue. So it doesn't sound like I'm as close as it feels, but when I get good swaths of knitting time and I can just sit down and watch an episode of Supernatural and go, I can usually finish a whole section in an episode. So 1, 2, 3-ish hours, and I'll be ready to go for the final clue. Every time I work on it at Knitting Group, they all always comment about how lovely they think the colors are together, and it always makes me pleased, because I feel so horrible about being able to put colors together. And I unashamedly stole this color combination from someone else who was showing what they were going to be using. So, but let's talk about that for a minute. I had one of you lovely viewers, who I don't remember who you were, but I did respond, and again, thank you very much for this suggestion, say that what she does for inspiration when she's kind of having a hard time with colors and things, she goes to Pinterest and pulls up, I'm very sorry, I don't remember the name of the board, but I think that's not important. What's important is she goes and looks at pictures that have then had the colors in the picture pulled out to the side. You've seen this. There are apps on your phone that can do this. And I was like, that's an amazing idea, because then, say you have a skein of yarn that you really want to put into a multi-yarn project, a multi-color project, you can say it's pink. You could probably type something in Pinterest like, oh my gosh, how would you even do it? Pink color theory or something, I don't know. But at any rate, pull up pictures that have had that treatment done to them and see. Anyway, so I was thinking about that. That was on the front of my brain. And I had some friends who were lucky enough to be able to go on a knitting retreat to Scotland, and I really wish I'd been able to go with them. And one of my friends posted this picture. Isn't it pretty? Of these flowers against that wall and the green of the grass, and I was moved. And I went, you know what? Oh my gosh. I have that yarn. I bought this at my first. It was at the first Camp Kip 2011. This lovely green. It's called Maidenhood from Mama Zuma Hand Knits. Does Mama Zuma still dye? I don't even know. I have this beautiful pink that I just recently bought. It is the now defunct Moon Holler. I know she isn't dyeing anymore. Pokeberry colorway. This dyer is dyeing. Hey Jen. So this is Daisy Knits. This is called For My Noodle. And her dewy sock. And is that not... I mean, this is that wall. I mean, look. Oh, wait. Come back. Come back. This is that wall. Do you see that? I mean, it is. So I just want to tell you, inspiration from nature photos. It can be had. This is going to be a beautiful shawl. It's going to be a Drachenfels when I get around to it. Because, you know what else is up? What's coming up? September is nigh upon us. I know it's August the 1st, but it feels like it was May yesterday, and 2015 3 days before that. And in September, I will be joining the beautiful ladies of SassyPants Knitter, SPK, the Silly Fruit, and the previously mentioned Caffeinated Gert of Caffeinated Crafting for a Fall Into Your Fade. We have all loved seeing all of the fades. Find Your Fade, So Faded, For Your Fades, all of these. We are so moved by the fades, and we wanted to do them, but we have not, because we had other things going and we kept putting it off, and we decided we were just going to do a knit along. So September, it's starting. I don't know the exact details, but we're going to be fading. Not pod fading. Yarn fading. I can't decide, so I believe the two other ladies are going to be keeping it on straight and narrow and doing the Find Your Fade shawl. I am just finishing up a gigantic shawl, and I don't wear my shawls very often, and I'm just not sold on making another gigantic shawl. I am in a place where I want to knit garments. So, I have been teeter-tottering between knitting the So Faded sweater by the designer of the Find Your Fade. And so I've been considering that. But do you watch Christy Glass Knits? You should watch Christy Glass. Christy with a K. She's phenomenal. YouTube channel. Brilliant. She does these amazing interviews. She did a whole collection with just men. She called them Match. And they're great. Great. You need to go. You need to just, why are you still watching me? Go look up Christy. Anyway, she did a knit along and she called it her Fadeito. She did the fade. However, she applied fading to the Granito by Joji Locatelli. And you know I'm a huge Joji Locatelli fan. And the Granito is one that some friends have knit, and they're very lovely, and I'm kind of into the oversized sweater business right now, and so I've been looking at maybe doing that one instead. However, like the way you join the sleeves, it looks kind of weird. I don't know. I may just stick with the So Faded, but then kind of give myself some a little bit of positive ease. Anyway, I found my fade though. I'm falling into it. Are you ready? It's going to make, I'm going to have to do some interesting reaches on the table because I did not plan. First we have Fiber Charmer Camo colorway. This is a BFL Bamboo Super Wash Blend. I don't think Fiber Charmer's dying anymore. We have Sobworks Craft Room. Pretty certain this isn't available now either. So this is Land of Sky Blue Waters with cat hair. So see kind of how that works there, yeah. So we have the green with a kind of a brownish tinge, and now we're pulling in green and brown with a little blue. The next, Holiday Yarns. Are they dying still? I don't even know. This is Water Dragon by Nora. So you see how we're going there? Kind of still with the blues and kind of the dark, the brown grayish, but throwing in, well, the greens. Pulling in some greens and lighter blues. Then we move into Twist Fiber Studios. This lady is still going strong. So this is her Merino Nylon Cashmere base in the Magic Mountain colorway. Yeah. Gently, we have now moved away from green and we are pretty much blue, brown, blackish. We started with Fiber Charmer and we are ending with Fiber Charmer. This was a club colorway. Happy birthday, Harry Dresden. So there it is. I don't know, guys. I wish I could explain how the flash of the aha moment that pulled these 5 skeins together. I cannot explain them. I can't explain it. Because I don't even know which one I started with. I think I decided that if I was going to make a fade, I needed to group all of my like colors together and go from there. And so I think I just did a whole bunch. I think I maybe pulled these 3 out first, just out of the cubby. I went, oh, well, expletive. And I said, well, maybe maybe that would work. And then on the other end, I actually played around with a little bit before I came up with this Harry Dresden finally. But I'm pleased with Punch. Pleased as Punch. I'm pretty certain it's going to be amazing. Now, if I'm doing a so faded, I've got to decide if I want the blue at my face or the green at my face. The thing is, the green, this is my color. When I put on this color, it always looks amazing. So I think I want the green next to my face, and then it'll fade into the blue at my hips. What you think? Super stoked. Super stoked. So those have been laying out on my table so I can see it and be excited. Yeah. I also, guys, because Game of Thrones started, but guess what I haven't watched the first episode of this season of Game of Thrones. But because it started, I had to cast on my Nitpicks Felici that I just recently purchased. It is Beyond the Wall. Which is a Game of Thrones reference. And it is beautiful. And I'm on my third stripe of color. I'm doing a vanilla latte. No. Yeah, I think that's what it's called, isn't it? Vanilla bean. Vanilla bean. I just kind of made up the toe as I went. Up to 58 stitches, I believe. Cooking up a 56-inch stitch sock on my US 1, which is a 2.25 millimeter. Beautiful carbons. So, that's that. I've been jabbering at you a long time. I've talked about some procrastinating. I've talked about a whip I'd really like to finish. Talked to you about my new purse knitting, some spinning, and some inspiration, and I think that's enough for one night. I hope I've helped you find some inspiration. Start combing for your fade. If you can use your stash, it would be amazing. Because I'm so stoked about being able to use my stash. And potentially having a garment to wear at the end of it. I'm so stoked. I still haven't forgotten about my poor Rhapsody and Cables. I tried to work on it a little bit, but the cables broke my brain. I don't know what it is about cables that just my brain can't or won't do it. But guys, I gotta go. It's getting late. It's like almost 9. So I'll talk to you next time. Okay? It won't be this long because I won't stay away as long. Okay? Bye. I hope you have a great night, a great week, and I hope all of your crafting goes as you planned. And remember today's lesson. Blocked gauge is important.
I just can't wait to finish. I got the kitten knitting blues. No, I just can't wait to finish. That's why I got those kitten knitting blues.